Fair enough.
Friday's televised game, 7:45 of course, on Sky Sports. Warrington versus Castleford. Now, I don't know why, but I think the Wire will have some sort of bounce back. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I've gone Wire by 8. What do you think?
I reckon Castor piss it.
Fair play. Saturday, 6 o'clock. Catalans host Salford. Where do you see the win going in the south of France?
It's not a hard one to pick, but I've gone for home field advantage.
Yeah, I think Catalans have impressed. They've had a bit more training time around each other because they've not had so many games. Some good group bonding trips to get games called off as well earlier on. I just fancy them against the Salford side that are streaking the wrong way at this point. I hope Ian Watson does turn it around once he's cleared things up with the RFL's officiating department. Catalans by 16 though, I'm afraid, for the Red Devils this week. Finally, Sunday, 3 p.m. It's me versus you, Tim. It's an SLP host derby. Wigan versus Hulkingston Rovers. And I feel that my Wigan side will come out on top. I've gone Wigan by 18. I just think we're a better side than Hulkingston Rovers are right now. And if we treat you with the right level of respect, we should be able to pull away in the end.
Yeah, I think similar. I can't see that defence. If Liam Marshall does that against that defence, it could be carnage. This could be ex-certificate viewing.
Who would you be running at? On our left wing, your right wing would be Minikin, wouldn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
So Minikin and Kenny Dowell. So maybe you've got a defensive option there. But I tell you what, if George Burgess runs the same way he ran on Sunday, that middle ain't going to fix up very quickly from last week's woes. Right, into the Championship, game of the week. York need a win. They had a win in the Cup, and it came against London. So there might be a bit in this game of a fight back from that one. So York hosting London, hopefully the last time York play at Bootham Crescent, and before they go into the shiny new ground. What say you?
I've gone London to bounce back on this one. I saw enough, I think, the other week when I was watching them play York in the Cup that they have got something there. They've got enough combinations, and I think I have tipped them to reverse this fixture. I think York just looked old and tired, really, but which is a bit of a worry at this point in the season.
Yeah, I also think London might have a little bit too much strike power, and if they can get their goal kicking on point, then they should have enough, I think, at this stage, as York still yet to move ground. Right, into League One, game of the week. Two sides that won last week, and it's Newcastle and Working, two of the favourites, really, to go up. It's a hard game to pick. I'll have to just go narrowly for home advantage. It's the only thing I can see separating these two when I look at them, because they're both impressed in week one.
Yeah, I think Newcastle, partly home advantage, and they did look impressive yesterday, so I think they'll do well, but who knows?
Well, all of those games will be on the Google form for you to send your fan reviews in to us to talk about on next week's show, and also any other game you see, follow, listen to, however you might catch up with other fixtures. Make sure you get your fan reviews in as well, just like the other option. Tell us about the games, tell us the scores if you can, of games we might not have picked up on, and that would be fantastic. All that's left for us to do now is wrap things up with a bit of a quiz and that. SLP quiz time then, Tim. And to be honest, I meant to ask you to do the quiz, but I only realised that I meant to do that at about 20 to 12 last night. When I was
and to be fair, the way my day at work went today, there was no chance I was going to get more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, exactly. You are an important man. I didn't think you'd have the time to do this. But if I'd have asked you maybe last Tuesday or Wednesday, but not leaving it until sending the rundown through at midnight. So I looked around, looked what I could pick up on as a theme, and I went with nillings, because there was 2 nillings this week, including an historic first nilling for the Toronto Wolfpack, so I thought I'd make them the topic of this week's quiz. So the first question: since the Super League pod started in 2014, which team has been on the wrong end of the most Super League nillings? So who's been nilled the most since the start of 2014 in Super League?
I don't know why, but I'm going to say Cass.
You're correct. It is Cass. Bonus point. Bonus points are on offer this week. Bonus point for guessing how many nillings they've had since the start of 2014.
6?
Ooh, it was 7. It was 7. A few other teams have had 6. Castleford just pipped them. They pissed it. They pissed this one with 7. On the flip side, since the Super League pod began in 2014, which team has dished out the most nillings on their opponents? So who has won to nil the most times?
I'm going to guess Wigan.
Yes, you're flying this one. And again, bonus point for guessing how many times Wigan have done that.
5.
You were a bit off. It was 11.
Gosh.
Yeah, that Wigan defence has been an impressive machine in the last 6 seasons. Finally, this one's looking back a bit further than before the Super League pod began, to another milestone moment. But which side, no longer in Super League, suffered the first ever Super League nilling in the first ever round of Super League back in 1996? And which playoff ever present side handed them that nilling? So you get a point for both sides here, I'll say.
Was it Lee?
No, Lee didn't. Lee weren't in the first Super League season.
Well, I don't think it was Paris, but no.
No, they
idea.
famously had that Sheffield game, didn't they, with the video referee and all that. You must at least be able to get who the playoff ever present side has been that gave them that nilling.
Saints?
Yes.
Halifax?
No, it was Workington Town. They were beaten 62-0 at home by Saints in that first round of Super League back in 1996.
There we go.
So, any other business, anything to tell the listeners about, and any recommendations, of course, that you might have for the listeners, Tim?
Well, to tell you what show we've been watching that is so utterly terrible, it's actually quite brilliant. It's called Love is Blind. It's on Netflix, and basically they had 10 blokes and 10 women, and they met each other, inverted commas, but they couldn't see each other. And the first time they could see each other was when they got engaged. So they had sort of dates in these pods where they could hear each other but not see each other. And then if they decided they liked each other, they could propose. Wow. And we're 4.5 episodes in and absolutely hooked.
How much time do these people get to converse?
In one case,
months worth of conversations, or do they have to make this decision after hours?
I think they were there in about 2. They basically had 2 days worth. Also, it was between 2 days and a week.
I mean, it took me 2.5 years to propose. So 2.5 days seems awfully quick.
Yeah, and there's so far there's been a couple of explosive moments. One guy who was playing a couple of girls, and we're waiting to see how that one comes out. And another one where someone wasn't entirely honest, and that came to a rather dramatic head in one of the episodes. So looking forward to seeing what happens and how many walk down the aisle at the end of the process.
These shows blow my mind. They're just fucking ridiculous.
Great though for just coming and chilling out and not that no-think TV that you need. It's really good. We've got too many things where you have to pay attention at the moment.
Fair enough.
So in the QNAP in the planner. What about you? Have you got any recommendations?
Yes. Finally, I actually managed to do something in February that we'd planned to do for all of February, which was a nice change of pace for how February had gone for me and Emma to that point. But it was our friend Ian's. Well, it's actually our friend Ian's 40th birthday tomorrow as we record. I would give him a shout out, but he definitely doesn't listen to this. For him, sport is competitive Scrabble, and that's about as far as sport extends. So, but he's a fantastic friend of ours, and we went out to Liverpool. We went to a board game cafe because that's kind of his deal. It was called.
Funnily enough, we went to a board game cafe because we went to Rochester for over half term. For a couple of nights just to get away. And we went to a board game cafe as well.
I hope the board game cafe had a punning name. This one was called Sugar and Dice.
Oh, no, that was much better. No, I think this one was just something like Pentatonics or something.
It always
dull,
disappoints me when a board game cafe doesn't go for a pun. Equally as much as it disappoints me when their logo isn't in Scrabble tiles. I feel like these are compulsory things. And Sugar and Dice didn't let down in Liverpool. But also, my main recommendation, though, whilst that was perfectly fine, an adequate place to go, my main recommendation is what we did after that. And it's called Ghetto Golf. It's one of these adults adults crazy golf situations. It was £10 for the round of the Ghetto Golf, and I was thinking
that's pretty good.
That's
that sort of
Well, it was pretty good because it was a full 18 holes. Some of them weren't too dramatic. There was one hole in particular where I was like, well, no one's getting a hole in one on this hole, sort of thing. After I'd eyed it up and a couple of us had gone, and then up steps Ian's girlfriend and flukes a hole in one and just laughs at me for my prediction on that. But that was a very good experience, and within the same complex, it's part of the Keynes Brewery on the sort of edge of the Baltic Triangle in Liverpool, the Keynes Brewery complex, and it's really good. There's loads going on around that way. But as part of the same building as Ghetto Golf is the food part of it is called Apocalypse Cow. So again, plenty of puns going on. Kind of like a twist on American style food. So lots of pulled pork and barbecue food and mac and cheese. And that sort of stuff, but yeah, it was really good. If you want to have like a sort of let your concerns go about what you're eating night, it was a wonderful place to spend that time. We had some sort of deep fried brisket balls that were amazing. Some mac and cheese sticks that were fantastic. They had a whole range of dirty fries. I don't like the phrase dirty fries, but I like what they deliver on your plate.
Just sounds a bit too close for dirty protests for comfort, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that would be my recommendation. Anyone heading to Liverpool, it was a fun experience. Ghetto Golf and Apocalypse Cow.
There we go, yeah. I'd recommend Rochester as a place, actually. It was quite nice for just dipping in and out of shops and avoiding the rain.
Rochester?
In the Medway.
So
that
Kent.
bit of Kent. Yeah, what I'd call near Kent rather than far Kent.
So travelable from London, Kent.
Yeah, sort of. It was only about a 45-minute train. It was actually nice and comfortable. And then we rushed back to do our first amateur dramatic performance, which was all good fun. And
what did your performance involve?
So it was a sketch show, and it had lots of different sketches. Heather and I were in one together.
Scripted or improv'd?
Scripted. So this was she did a scene from Importance of Being Earnest, where she was Lady Gwendolyn, and I was the butler. And yeah, you make your own jokes about our relationship here. And then I was in one at the end where I was in a Star Trek spoof called Star Trek The Vex Generation, and I was Lieutenant Wolf. So I got to dress up as a wolf, and also Geordie, so I got